going on inside the White House that we talked about last week, that he talked about on Friday, that they plan more strikes and sanctions. People said, oh, Zach's wrong. They said limited. Then you learned a few days later they want more strikes. They want to put troops on the Russian border. They want confrontation. All of that confirmed out of CENTCOM. And now Zach has traveled to the West Coast to learn more. So we've got a lot of articles to go over here with him that tie into this. He can't get anything classified. He just, as a citizen, can give you his breakdown. But Mattis wanted congressional approval before striking Syria. He was overruled. Again, Kushner's security clearance downgraded. We've got the Saudi Crown Prince boasted that Jared Kushner was in his pocket. All this nexus is together. Zach, thank you for joining us.
Yes, Alex, it's great to be back on and be able to connect some dots here. Obviously, a lot of moving pieces, but yeah, just to get right into it. The idea that this strike was for North Korean consumption and to kind of, pressure them into do whatever they're doing is completely ridiculous. That deal with North Korea was already signed months ago, as we spoke about, as everybody already knows. And the idea that North Korea has lost sight or is unaware of the might we have as a military, or the idea that we might go to war with the country, is completely crazy. That has nothing to do with, not to mention the fact that we have just about 100,000 troops currently permanently stationed around their country. The idea that we would strike a sovereign country to do that is so problematic in its thinking that I don't even know what to do. Because what we got here is this, folks. Listen, I'm a huge Donald J. Trump fan. There's just no question about it. Donald J. Trump is the most effective president in U.S. history, and he has done incredible things. But this is not a professional sports team. We don't have blind trust, okay? It's not I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan, and no matter what the record is, I stick with them year in and year out.
Well, sure, Nikki Haley is openly in rebellion against the White House, shooting her mouth off, and they're out of control.
We cannot have blind trust. Not in me, not in you, not in Donald Trump. The only thing we can have blind trust in is the Republic of the United States and the upholding of the Constitution. So he's done a lot of great things, and obviously I'm a huge supporter of him, and I did everything I could to get him elected over Hillary Clinton. But what happened in Syria was so problematic, and in the covering up and the conspiratorial thinking of why he did this, oh, it's only limited, trust the plan, is wrong. This is not it. If you're going to be in Syria, okay, and bombing something, why don't you bomb some ISIS strongholds? Why don't you bomb some ISIS fighters? He comes out and addresses the nation and says, we specifically attacked Assad sites, the same sites the Russians have been protecting with their blood and treasure for years. You don't come out and say that. Okay, he called him an animal leading up in the days up into it. This isn't about ISIS. This isn't about some,
That was signaling trying to kick off a new war in the Middle East and try to get Russia to respond. That's what I pick up.
100%. Mattis didn't want it. The military didn't want it. They said you got to go to Congress for this. But obviously, there's some different thinking there. Trump, he's a smart guy. He weighs all of his options, and in the last minute, he made a choice. And now the question becomes, why did he make that choice? And to me, it's very obvious. I believe a deal was struck. In fact, I know a deal was struck with the Saudi Arabians. Remember, everybody, the very first trip that Donald Trump made as the president of our country, where was that to? Right into Saudi Arabia, waving the swords right into Riyadh, okay? Now, while Donald Trump was, doing all the, making deals, kind of on camera, signing everything, make no mistake, Jared Kushner, okay, had already had these deals drawn up. Jared Kushner was in there wheeling and dealing, guaranteeing Syria and Assad to the crown prince. He guaranteed that in exchange for prolonged weapons planning, and by our prolonged weapons plans being sold, different weapon systems, our support of them doing and taking over the Middle East.
Yeah, $300 billion, and Trump likes that. He likes to get jobs for America. When we come back, let's talk about the rest of the story with Zach, who's a great source on the other side, and tie it into everything. I mean, that's why I got mad on Friday. My gut was this was part of a huge double cross and a shake-up inside the White House in an attempt to start a wider war. Then I tried to back off of that and say, well, maybe it's about North Korea, maybe it's limited. But now you see it's not. There's a big schism, a civil war inside the White House. I'm Alex Jones, your host. I don't like to get up here and talk about World War III or a new world war, but if you look at what the West has been doing, it's encircling Russia, it's siding with radical jihadists. It is doing horrible, horrible things. And 5 years ago, our military, if you just tuned in, said no to Obama, no to the globalists. General Dempsey went and said, we're not doing this. We're going to back the Russians going in. Assad's made a deal to have elections after they're beaten. And Assad still says he'll do that. Trump says, that's a great idea. I'm all for that. He gets briefed by the military, who basically asked him to run for office 2 years before he does. This was already in the works. Because Trump, kept trying to organize other people to resist this. So that's why I got so mad at Trump, was because I went home and thought it wasn't going to happen because Mattis said it wasn't going to happen. And then recklessly, he gets countermanded, obviously. And Trump gets convinced to do it by Bolton or some other loon. And we're off to the races, and I didn't know the Russians were going to respond. They didn't. They stood down. And I guess it's because behind the scenes, our military's telling them, hey, we're trying to stop this. That's what I already had. But we've got Zach, who's got a lot of great sources. And again, I know who Zach is. Zach, tell us, am I accurate in what I said, or what's really going on? What's the latest? What's unfolding? Is Trump becoming compromised with the raid on his lawyer? That's what I was thinking. Or did he just get manipulated by the neocons? Why is Haley now stomping around like she's the president, acting all arrogant and attacking the White House? This doesn't look good.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right on several issues there, and there's several moving parts that are all contributing to this. So, yes, the raid on Cohen's office was very problematic because, like we discussed earlier, Jared Kushner, in that meeting, that inaugural trip to Saudi Arabia, there's some very troubling recordings that will be out there, and everyone knows, and it's just going to be out there.
By the way, you said that Friday. I'm sorry. You said that Friday. I just forget how awesome you are. I have the article. You said that Friday. It's now in the news saying there's recordings that he said that. So you broke that here.
Well, yes, absolutely. I mean, he's in uncertain terms, he's basically promising the head of Assad to the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, which is obviously problematic and treasonous on a constitutional level. But why do you think, and we could pull it up, Jared Kushner, at the capacity that he's at in the White House, had his security clearance downgraded. So he no longer gets the daily intelligence briefings that he was, reading and, digesting every day because Jared got sloppy. Jared started shooting his mouth off and, selling certain information essentially overseas. And you don't get your security clearance downgraded for no reason. There's obviously a reason behind there, and it's become obvious with some of the recordings that are out there, and obviously he had his security clearance downgraded. That's a major concern that just was news one day, and then it's just, oh, no big deal, on to the next thing. But when it comes to this strike, obviously this happens. And then when you see the disruption with Nikki Haley, we did this 6 months ago. I told you, Tillerson was compromised. Haley was compromised. Sessions is compromised. I understand what the other side is saying in the intelligence communities and in the QAnon community. It's my opinion that Sessions is compromised, Haley is compromised, and Tillerson is compromised. That's been my line for 6 months, and I'm sticking to it.
And they keep saying stick with the plan, just because QAnon puts out some stuff that's true, and I know you know who those guys are. This isn't a plan now. We're getting off the Trump plan. And I like Bill Mitchell. He's coming on next week, but he says, well, there are people that support an agenda, so they supported Trump, and there are people that support Trump. No, I support Trump and the agenda he originally promoted that lined up with reality and what I supported. I won't support him if he goes sideways.
So understand, all this really started around the Breitbart issue. Excuse me, not Breitbart. Right around when Nikki Haley started running her mouth and doing her own foreign policy here. Nikki Haley, and the plan is, this is it, folks. I don't know if anybody's looking into this, but this is definitely the plan. Nikki Haley is looking to run in 2020 with Mike Pence. They're hoping that in this raid, and they have probable cause here, if they go after this witch hunt, to actually impeach Donald Trump, if they could pull it off. And they're planning internally for Donald Trump to be impeached and Nikki Haley and Mike Pence to run on that 2020 ticket. You could guarantee.
And notice Saturday Night Live and all of them for months are acting like Pence is perfect. He's the guy. And now the headlines are today that Haley and Pence are trying to line it up behind the scenes. Very, very wicked behavior, if true.
Absolutely, and very dangerous behavior. I mean, listen.
Well, notice how the media always says Pence is perfect and Pence could do no wrong and he navigated it perfectly. They're going to burn Pence as soon as he flushes Trump. He better not be stupid.
Exactly, and this all happened with the Breitbart day. Steve Bannon, left the White House. Everybody picked their sides right then and there. Trump came out and notice he announces his 2020 run, and he knew what was going on. But the issue is when you have several compromising issues, what do you do here? And in this case, obviously the initial trip to Saudi Arabia, he's fully aware what Jared Kushner's doing, but he got in over his head and he had his security clearance downgraded. They have promised, and whether you like it or not, they have promised Assad's head to the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia. And why do we care in America? We really should care, because this is the continuation of empire building in the military-industrial complex, flexing its muscles as hard as possible. And for all the good that Trump stood, I'm really, really surprised by this, and I'm not sure exactly what is behind the scenes that really got him to do it, but there's a couple things that are reasons for concern that I could see him doing this. And the recordings are one of them. Jared Kushner promised it there. And, you know, it's no surprise. When it came to 9/11, a majority of those hijackers and the funding all came out of Saudi Arabia. They're turning over, they're becoming, you know, more modernized. But at the end of the day, this has been a very cozy, problematic relationship that's been based in money, oil, and blood for quite some time.
Well, I know the Saudis looked like they were in ecstasy when Trump was over there, and they claimed they were going to stop funding their terror groups. And so just because one faction of the Saudis got rounded up doesn't mean the more powerful faction was really just the same group. And that's all part of that super deceptive stuff that they engage in over there that causes so many of their political long-term problems. But I totally agree with you, Zach. And here's the thing. Trump is dealing with very dangerous people that want power and who want to bring him down. And the globalists hate Trump because he's America first. He's done a lot of great work. And he has to know that they're never going to stop till they destroy him. And people like Pence and Haley also want to hedge their bets behind the scenes, claiming that they're really against Trump. So I think there's some survival instinct there. The real survival instinct is to double down on Trump and support him as long as he follows the original agenda, because again, once the left gets Trump out of there, they are going to go after everybody. They are loaded for bear. They are crazed. They know that we're pulling America out of their jaws, and so they are on a death mission right now. They call it a death battle.
Absolutely, and Nikki Haley engaging in this Russian trash talk is just ridiculous. Coming out of a Trump White House, saying, addressing the UN, looking at the Russian.
Yeah, who do you think wrote those tweets calling Assad an animal and you're guilty, and I mean all this ridiculous crap?
Calling him an animal, we're locked and loaded. She reiterates, "I don't get confused." It's obvious. The script's written. They're hoping for an impeachment internally. They tried to pull off the 25th on 45. That didn't work. He had resolve there.
The wheels came off on Russiagate. Now they've raided his lawyer. There's not a lot there. They're desperate.
They're desperate. They got some stuff in that raid. I mean, to me, in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't really matter. But for the nitpicking impeachment process, they're going to draw that out because.
Oh, sure. You can call it money laundering if somebody used, campaign money that people paid through to launder it, to pay off some bimbo. Exactly. It's incredible.
And exactly. And what happens about the next Syrian chemical attack? So what do we think here? Oh, wow, that was affected. So based off of fake intelligence, a completely fake video, we bomb them. That's the pretext to do that. So what happens when there is the next chemical attack? We must respond again, correct? Because if I was not a fan of Bashar al-Assad, I would be doing everything in my power to set off anything in that country because it's going to guarantee a response.
Sure, so let's briefly talk about how Trump saves the bacon in the country. We'll be back with Zach, final segment. All right, Zach's got to go in like 10 minutes. I got to plug. We talked to the factory. There's only so much deep earth crystals left on the X-Tube. It's only happened one other time. I'm hoping to get more of it. They've put us over a barrel at the oil companies where we try to get the derivatives of this. It's the purest iodine in the world. You were telling me, because it's absolutely on target about where we are right now. And the American people need to be very aggressive, very vocal, very focused after you tell them what you're about to tell them, because the deep state is getting ready to make their move on the president. Go ahead and tell them.
Absolutely. I mean, what's going on right now is a very entrenched internal conflict to have our president impeached and have him double-crossed by Haley and Pence in their power structure there. And this is an internal battle that has been waged momentum-wise since John F. Kennedy had his brains blown out there. That's the type of event, the type of thrust-like event of a space rocket, of a spaceship taking off. I mean, if you're going to be that bold to do that to Kennedy, you're going to have generational individuals in that chain of command all the way up to what we're dealing with right now. And Donald Trump is in the fight for his life, in the fight for the republic. This is it. This is it. He has to double down. He has to do whatever he can to expose them, not buy time, because they are coming for him, and they are going to put him in vulnerable situations to either be impeached or executed. It's just going to happen. The writing's on the wall. There's internal conflict just in his own chain of command immediately, let alone what's going on behind the scenes. We cannot let this happen. He needs to double down. Where are the military tribunals really going after the deep state? Do not appease them, because they will not give you an inch. They're coming for your neck. That's all there is to it. They're coming.
I've studied the Nazis and the Soviets and others. There's always this mental illness, this arrogance. But when you look at the globalists, they all have the sickness of this arrogance. Trump, you can see it's a strength, a mission. It's the opposite. It's strength. With them, they all look so wimpy. They're so condescending. They're so sanctimonious. And they're so arrogant this Soros judge that raided his lawyer and all of it. And it's like all the crimes they've committed, are they really sanctimonious? Are they really on a power trip? Or is it really an act? They're scared and they're acting powerful. I just know this. I got Soros and the globalists. You can see, Zach. I'm as big an enemy now as Trump. Give me your calculation on why they're so trying to get me right now, lying about me, misrepresenting, trying to destroy me right now.
For the remarks that you made on Friday, they know that you have a blind allegiance to the truth, to the Constitution. And for all the good that Donald Trump did, you still came out and said, this is unacceptable, this is a bad sign, because it was your thinking, your base, and this sort of it's taken on a personality of itself. It has a life of itself. It's Americana is what it is. It's the revitalization, the revolution, the second American Revolution. You are the speaker for that. And regardless, especially now, I expect you would think you would get some slack by speaking out a little bit here. Not going against Trump, but calling out what he did. You would think you would get some slack. I see it as the opposite, because they can see, no, you're not paid out, and yes, you're real, because you're going to hold the line of truth.
By the way, I didn't say that to get him off my back. You notice they accelerated that suit and filed on Monday. No, absolutely. I know they got even more pissed when I did that, because I'm not selling out. I'm never selling out, and they hate the fact that our audience isn't selling out, and they just don't like InfoWars as people like you and countless others come on. They don't like anybody having a voice.
Exactly, and I just want to let people know. I mean, all the attacks were fine. This is not about a record. This is not about blind adherence. This is about the second American Revolution. I'm wishing the best for Donald J. Trump. I really do pray for him every day, and I want him to do well. But I understand he's in the fight for his life. It does not make you un-American or unpatriotic to know the forecast, see the storm coming, and let people know. It does make you un-American and unpatriotic to know the forecast, let the storm wipe everything out, and act like you don't know what's going on. That's ridiculous. So when this thing happened in Syria, I thought it was a very bad sign. I knew it was a very bad sign, and we have to support the president. We have to double down and really support him, because
I agree. Everybody has to call Congress, call talk radio, call everything, and say, attack politically. It's time to, and by the way, this just broke, Infowars.com. Finally, GOP demands criminal investigation to Clinton, Lynch, Comey, evidence of conspiracy to overthrow duly elected president surfacing. They now have all of the McCabe emails, all of it proving that Comey lied to Congress about the Justice Department not being involved, that his investigation was by itself. They have them, and Trump has to fire now. We have them dead in the sights. We have them. He cannot wait. If this is the real moment of truth, I'm not backing down. I feel great. I mean, I actually feel like I'm now filling into the shoes of my forebears, and I'm so alive. I'm sorry. I actually love all this, and I'm not somebody that's into masochism. No, I don't like pain, but I like victory, and I like not being a slave. And these globalists are evil. So they have this letter. We'll cover it more after Zach leaves. It's on Infowars.com. But Zach, looking at this and looking at the left and looking at how they're weaponizing, how they're building up, how they're doing all this, people have to know that they're going to take everything when they're done. Hillary was planning to get rid of free speech, implode the economy, re-educate America. They had it all lined up with all the big corporations, the sensitivity training, the ADL, the Southern Poverty Law Center. They're all still going ahead with the plan, but we're fighting back. And that's what I'm going to tell the globalists. They're insane. They could have stopped, regrouped, backed off, maybe come back later. The fact that they're hard charging in now, trying to intimidate us and only thinking one-dimensionally, that's why I feel so good. No matter what happens to me or Trump, I can tell you right now, or Matt Drudge or any other patriot, we're winning. And now Tucker Carlson and now Ingram and now Rand Paul coming out saying false flag and this is bull and it doesn't make sense. You can see that people out there have light of justice in their eyes, and that good knows their kids have no future if we don't stand against this. The only way we lose, folks, is rolling over. And those of us that are under attack have got to be men. And once you get past the fear, there's not fear, it's good. There's no more fear. I don't fear anything they do to me. And it's not because I'm a hero. I know they're bad. We've got to face them down. Go ahead.
Absolutely. First things first, we have got to warn and sound the alarm on the next chemical attack that will occur in Syria, because it's just obvious thinking. Of course, if you are not a Bashar al-Assad fan, you'd be doing everything in your power to set something off in that country. So when and if that does happen, we have got to guarantee that it gets tested, that we have people go evaluate what really happened, that the intelligence is verified, and that we have an approval on a secondary strike. Because one's coming. If you don't think that, that's just ridiculous thinking. It's coming, guaranteed. So when that happens, we have to make sure that we don't pull the trigger, get right in there with that.
And Trump knows that, and he's trying to act like let's just say it. It looks like Trump has gone along with the plan to make it look like he's being reasonable, to cross red lines, and then when the rebels cross it for him, we're going to attack and take out Assad, betraying everything Trump said he would do, and turn the country over to be broken up, occupied by Saudi Arabia, so every non-radical gets murdered and tortured to death.
Exactly, and they have a nice little line saying, "Oh, there will be an army comprised of Arab countries taking care of Syria. The U.S. is going to pull out." Whoa, 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 whoa! What do you mean an army comprised of Arab countries?
That's an invasion force, just like they did before.
They have an army. There's a Syrian army. It's a sovereign country. We're not taking our army out and putting another army in. That's called Libya. That's called Afghanistan. That's called everything else.
And by the way, the Syrians will fight. I mean, look at the civil war they just fought. They're going to continue to fight.
They're in the fight for their life every single day. I mean, it's every single day could be your last day on earth there. So they're dead serious about it. We need to be dead serious about it. This is the perpetual momentum of the military-industrial complex and the intelligence agencies since John F. Kennedy's brains have been blown out in the back of that Cadillac. This is it. This is everything. This is 9/11. This is Gulf of Tonkin. This is Vietnam. This is everything is leading up to this moment where we have got to back our president and really get through to him and say, do what you can, because this is it. We're not going to have another Donald Trump in office. God knows what follows behind Donald Trump, but it will not be the chance that we have now. We must seize the moment.
That's right, because Syria is the last domino, and then it goes into war with Russia, the whole 9 yards. They've got it planned. Jack, come back as soon as you can to give us more briefings. I know you got to go. If you want to add any other points, you can hold over. You got to go?
That's it. Yeah, I got to go.
All right, thank you very much. I know you're at your lunch.